Hello, once again, we are here. It's LDO episode 356. We're still going, and we're joined tonight by Stephen over here.
Hello, everyone. Hello, our lovely Patreons.
And down in the bottom is the Tone Star. Hello, Tony.
Hello.
I am everyone's favourite Curry Kitten, except people still haven't showed up, so I'm clearly not everyone's favourite. And, well, what's been happening this week? And I have to say, like, my excuse, I was away and I wasn't here in Barcelona. But interestingly, two things I should mention about being in Barcelona is, firstly, either everybody was just riding electric scooters illegally or they have a very permissive law. Like, so many e-scooters and e-skateboards really whizzing along in dedicated bike lanes. But, more interestingly, you remember last week I talked about sort of meeting a Karen who decided to ask who allowed me to fly in the field and wanted names.
Yeah.
We were doing a Segway tour around Barcelona, which was good fun, and I didn't fall off or anything, and they go pretty
Well
fast
done.
when you get going. When we were all stood there in one of these areas and he was showing us this building by this architect Gaudi, if you know the stuff,
Yeah, lovely.
some Spanish woman came up, very smiley, said something in Spanish, and he talked back to her and said stuff. And my wife said, like, oh, did she ask for a go or something? And he's like, no. She said to me, and he made a point of saying how smiley she was and pretending to be nice about, aren't segways illegal in Barcelona? And then as he was telling us this, we saw her there with a phone taking pictures of them, like she was going to report us. So we met a Spanish Karen who basically tried to
Yay.
stop us having fun.
They're
That is
everywhere.
my Barcelona story. They're everywhere. They're not just here. They get around.
They're everywhere.
So
They
what
really
have
are.
you guys been up to? What's going on?
Steve?
Oh, right. I built a very, very small quad.
Another one.
Well, yeah, another one. This was from an Instagram guy. You may have heard of him. Sub 250 gram FPV.
Well, that
And
is
he
pretty
produced
cool.
this cute little quad. It's the only one I know that's designed for a 10 by 10 mil camera. That isn't even a nano camera in the front. That is a Runcam Atom, which is 10 mil by 10 mil. It's ludicrously small. The picture is tolerable. It's better than the old Cadex ones, but yeah, 2-inch props on 1102s. And I've also got some ridiculously small bright orange, which I highly approve of, bright orange
Batteries.
1002 motors, which I've never seen
this
before.
Is
and
this
I had
one the
to buy.
turtle frame? Is that what it's called? Or is
I
this a
think
different
this
one?
is a nameless one. It's from this Instagram guy who builds kind of ultralight quads, and he spends a lot of time stripping them down, savoring every gram, and putting his larger motor and battery as he can get on there with everything else all
What are you flying?
you know,
2S on that?
extra light. 2S, yeah. Most people were doing 1S, but I thought that was a bit dull. So I got this Happy Model X12 board. It's got a 400 milliwatt VTX on there, believe it or not, and it seems to go. I've got a little Omni on there. And the four ESCs, 12 amp rated 1 to 2S, and an Express LRS little ceramic antenna on there. So you get quite a lot. The motors were only pulling a ludicrously low amount of amps. So yeah, 2S works pretty well. Pretty well.
Nice.
The reason I mentioned that frame is
Again.
I've also seen posts from him, and he sent me a link to the video of I don't know if he makes the frames or makes the whole things, this turtle thing, and it was flying on 1S, but it looked very much like it was flying on 2S or more, because it was doing things. You know, Whoop's always a little bit gutless when you want to do the sort of the
You want to do a
the
split
hit the
test,
throttle
you're like,
and
oh, I'm going to
something.
crash now.
And yeah, you just don't have the room, especially inside. But that looked really impressive. It looked like he'd put the weight at a state so like the power to weight ratio was really, really good. That'd be interesting.
He's designed it so it's really lean. Like, it looks like a much bigger quad, but only because he's used a really tiny camera. I think that the standoffs are something like. Shall I solo myself here? Where's the button?
Yeah. Can you bring that on Saturday? I'd like to look at that.
Yeah, I'll bring it along. And it gets about 4.5 to 5 minutes on a 300 mAh 2S, which is pretty nice. So yeah, very low stack height, and he's made just all the decisions based around this specific tiny camera. So you can only use the 10 by 10 camera, but once you've done that, you've got, I think this is 34 grams, and I've still got the JST plugs for the motors on there, so I could probably shave a bit. And with going from 1102s, which these are right now, down to 1002s should take 2.8 grams off it. So I'll give that a shot and see if that improves performance. But yeah, it's a nice little park flyer. And obviously, when you're flying something like this around, you can just mess around near park benches and stuff. You don't need a ton of space, and it still manages to pull itself out of dives and that. That's all right.
Audio Gek is saying the cam is really bad though. Is it bad or is it all right? Because your normal nano's 14mm, isn't it? So they've shrunk it down significantly from that.
Yeah, it's not top of the range, but I've still got things like CADX turbos and CADX EOS 2s, and it's better than those. It's better than the old CADX nano cameras, I'd say. It might not be up there with the best of the latest small cameras, but compared to cameras of 2 or 3 years ago, it's perfectly adequate.
So, if it shows you a picture and everything doesn't go dark if there's a bit of sunlight out, then it's good enough.
Right, yeah, there's a good amount of contrast. I was flying it yesterday, and people in the UK would probably know it's a blazing hot day. So I flew 3 packs through it there, and yeah, got pretty good results. But that was the best conditions one can expect to have. My only beef with it so far is these HQ bi-blades, which are like 50mm bi-blades, really lightweight 2-inch props, some ludicrously small pitch, and that gives it the long flight time. But they're designed to push fit, and they don't push far enough down to actually allow the spindle of the motor to actually go into the prop. They sit on there like some kind of like hat perched on top. There's maybe 4mm between the actual rotor, between the bell and the prop, and that's just asking for some sort of snapping action on the motor, I think. So I got out my little drill and drilled them all the way through.
If there's one thing I dislike about small quads, it's the idea of push fitting props, because something's going to go wrong there at some point. I mean, I've gone out with an old quad that I haven't flown for a while with push fits, and I've gone, let's go, and I remember I was filming it with my GoPro, and I played it back, and you just see it turned into a prop launcher. They go, and the quad sits there.
Yeah, this one is on the other end of the scale where you can't really move them once you got them on. You better be sure you got them the right way around and you've got the props you want.
I used to glue mine on, just a tiny bit of super glue.
Yeah. I've done that before.
I've missed that quad, actually. 2S 400 mAh. It was a Dan Upton special. It was one of our friends in Brighton designed and made it. And brilliant little thing. It used to fly fantastic.
Where'd it go?
Something broke on it, and you know me. Bit of blue tack on there, and it's too heavy.
So you've been doing something on the other end of the scale, I gather, Tony, right? I've been playing with the smallest possible motors known to mankind. You're slightly larger, right?
Yes, we went over to Fossils HQ a couple of Thursdays ago when I had to dodge the show. We've got it working. And then we put it all together and then armed it, and it armed, but we didn't give it any beans on the throttle. So we thought it was fine, come home, and we were like, well, and nothing happens. So, and then the FC caught fire, that blew up. Luckily, Danny Boy had saved my PIDs and all my settings, and then we went up the field, our flying field, and put everything back together. New FC, which Clive in the chat sent to Fossil, and Fossil sent to me. So thanks, Clive. Which was an old CLS Racing, I believe, which was what I had in there, and so we put everything back. 357 old firmware. All my PIDs are all back on it, and I was so nervous because I haven't flown for I don't know months. September was probably the last time I actually flown the X-Class. Stuck it miles away from us, ran back, put it on, and everything spun up right, and I went go, blip the throttle, and it went it literally flipped, because we were thinking about strapping it down, because if you get the oh god, here we go, let's play.
You're going to need a hell of a bungee to strap down an X-Class, aren't you?
Well, we when we done Danny's, when he was having problems, because it would just, as soon as you arm it, it would just start going.
Runaway
And
D-term. Yeah.
and we put props on it, and we literally ratchet strapped to the table to do it. But so anyway, it completely flipped. Got back to beta flight, which we hadn't been on for so long. I haven't actually turned beta flight on for 2 years. So that's how long it's been since I've done a build or anything like that. And then realised the board alignment was wrong, so we managed to get it right. And I only flew it for maybe 30 seconds, but it felt like the old one. It felt good. So fingers
You get the
crossed.
throttle up high?
No, I blipped it a few times, and that was it. So really, the test is going to be on Saturday. I mean, I might be able to fly it Friday evening, but.
Well, it'll be good for the audience either way.
Hopefully not, because I don't want to take it apart again.
Maybe
it's
you
big
should upgrade the firmware.
No. No. It flies great on the old firmware.
It sounds more like you need to fireproof everything, because the last 2 flights from it seems to have included the words fire.
Well, that
don't normally go on fire.
It had flown for 3 years until it caught fire. That's pretty good. It's gone to Texas. It's been in a suitcase in the bottom of a plane and flown around Texas and come back and been to events. Yeah, so it's done well. Yeah, and I've got no money for batteries, so if anyone want to give me some batteries on Saturday, that'd be great.
Yeah, you were saying 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's not a lot, is it?
No, that's two. I've got two 4S 3000s together, so it's only 3000 milliamp hour.
Yeah.
If you're, cranking it up and flying fast.
Yeah, I've considered running that sort of lipo on my 7-inch, like 8S 3000. So yeah, on what, that 14-inch props. It's not a lot, is it?
I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, it might fly Saturday. If not, there's other guys going who've got X classes. Martin's got a new design. He's taking his other ones flying. I think he's on 12S with that.
Need to get you sorted with some kind of lipo sponsor, don't we?
Oh, that would be nice. That would be.
You'd have to fly it more to actually get a sponsor. Have some batteries. I'm just going to keep them in the cupboard.
Yeah, cheers.
I need to heat my van sometimes.
So, as you've alluded to, going somewhere on Saturday, this is obviously to Wings and Wheels.
Yes.
Now, you two are going. What you're taking, and who else is going in the chat? I see some people talking about it.
I think a couple of people. Hopefully, Frank's going to turn up. Clive's definitely going from the chat. Who else is going? My mate Ryan from last year is going. He's going. So yeah, I'm literally waiting for Danny to help me at 9 p.m. put my tent on the top of my van. I normally say
my
van
only
on the top of my tent.
question is kind of, what can I take? I don't have an X class, so I'm not going to be racing X class. Got a couple of 5-inch, but I've got a ton of little micros. If there's any space for messing around with micros, obviously you don't want to blitz anyone else's video.
I think they might let you in the tent because there's a tiny whooping in the tent. And they normally do it all day, and I think you'd probably be able to say, oh, can I have a go? And maybe even fly in the evening when everyone's finished. As long as you're on 25 milliwatt and whatever, I think you'll be fine.
Andrew/Frank was talking about night flying, which I wasn't aware about, but sounds like that's going to be a thing, right?
Yeah, there's normally so much going on. So yeah, I think you'll be fine to do it. I think you've got to make sure you have BMFA or some kind of insurance as well that you can.
FBV UK, yeah.
Probably be all right. Hopefully, I know when you race, you've got to have BMFA.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm not BMFA. I keep thinking about BMFA, but the fields are quite far from where I live, and yeah, there's just a lot of regs. They technically to fly a multi-rotor, they want me to pass a commercial test, unless there's someone supervising me. Which just like, why would I go to a field if I need a commercial test? They want one of the commercial pilot certifications to fly a quad, but you can fly a wing just with the regular BMFA stuff. And they said they'd look into some of the racing and FPV certs, but I don't want to go get a commercial cert just so I can fly in their
No.
field and pay £100 to do the £100 a year
Well,
to stand
I
in their
think
field that's
the
miles from my
problem
house.
probably is that they will follow the purely legal thing about you must always have a spotter with you, that's probably your supervision point of view,
Yeah.
which has moved on very slightly to you must have someone with a buddy box, I guess. But no, I've never been a joiner for these things. Plus, despite me flying in fields a lot, I do like to have the option of just going where I want to go, and just getting on with it, I guess.
I think, as Clive says in the chat, the wing guys are going. I think there's wing racing Saturday and Sunday as well. And I think they're doing some night flying with their wings. So, plus, there's so much going on in the day. Like, we're probably shoved down the end, the quad bit. And there'll be jets and all sorts there all day flying. And then in the evening, I mean, I'm taking RC buggies and taking me RC cars and stuff, so they'll be all over that. So yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, I should probably have dug that out. Unfortunately, my RC car stuff is shredded right now. I discovered what goes wrong if you try and go too fast with an RC car. Unlike a quad where you just hit something and replace a prop, with an RC car you hit something and the drivetrain gets completely polished smooth and you have to take the whole thing apart.
It's got all them cogs in it. They get a bit stripped, don't they?
They do strip a bit.
lot stripped.
Yeah, I tried 3S in my one I got given the other day, and it just the back was trying to overtake the front all the time. So I was like, okay, I'll go back to 2S because this is stupid. It was just literally just twitching all the way up the road. It was probably all right on grass.
Sounds fun though. Yeah.
Yeah, on grass I think it would have been fine, but on road it was just like. Rrr.
So the question for Stephen is, will you be taking a money or credit card with you? And do we need to dedicate an entire episode to this is what Stephen bought at Wings and Wheels last week?
I think I've got enough stuff right now.
Yeah, you say that, but it's like, oh yeah, this week I bought, and then a big list appears of stuff.
It's been a bit like that lately. I'm a little bit carried away. Yeah, so far so good. I've been sensible. The only thing I've bought recently is a new FC and ESC stack, just in case I want to rebuild my old 4-inch, because I've got a pin-connected HGLRC stack, and every time I think it flies nicely for 30 seconds, and then there's a wobble, and I think the pins lose connection between the FC and the ESC. It just goes crazy. Like, it'll get stuck on a throttle value, not like one of those oscillation, runaway D-term stuck on the high throttle, but no, like it'll just be off in its own world. You can't do anything to it. And so I've given up on pin connected stuff, and I was going to replace it with a new proper F7 with a cable.
Yeah, something that randomly sticks on a throttle and doesn't want to move is not something I'd really like to fly ever.
Yeah, I keep seeing them recommended to newbies. Flight stacks where you've got a pin, like typically a kind of a 5x2 row of pins on the FC, and one block goes down to the ESC, and there's another one on the top that goes up to the VTX. Wow. And it's just asking for trouble. Like, all you need to do is tap one of them and you'd knock the pins off.
Yeah, the problem with those ones is that means you're literally on that
you're locked in
ecosystem. It's like you have to get this with this with this, as opposed to just being able to swap a single component out, which is less useful, I think.
People, I've noticed recently there was some talk with I think Acon and others about getting the pin out agreed on for FCs and ESCs, and you have to get some kind of universal agreement for the pin out. It's all very well and good, but I think if you're not sure about what pin does what, connecting those, you're probably going to walk into some problems sooner or later. I'm not sure there necessarily is a newbie-friendly solution, other than you should just read the manual and, and check the pins.
Well, I generally think that, like, rather than pins, a newbie-friendly board would be like a flight controller which has all nice, easy solder
Plug-in.
pads all on the outside, so you don't have to try and get in like mid-board and get something or some weird jumper that has to be switched over, and it all just the solder goes on quite pleasantly. They seem to have got sort of semi sort of traditional about like ESC boards to FCs, but then again, lots of people just prefer to like wire them up.
That
instead
little
of
cable.
cables.
Some people think there should be some universal standard, but all that happens is you ask someone to come up with a standard, and then they simultaneously do it at the same time as another manufacturer, and then you've got two different standards all of a sudden. So what I do like on this one is they put a nice little sticker on the top of it. No little thing in the box, but they actually put a sticker saying what pad's what. Because the writing's always like mice type.
Who's that by?
Oh, this is a cheapo one. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's Hack RC. This was like the only thing that Banggood had at any sensible price without going upwards of 100 quid for a stack. I think this was 60 quid, which is probably more than it's worth, but prices are a bit ludicrous right now.
Yeah, the only thing I've bought this week is diesel, and that was expensive. No, actually, tell a lie, I bought a solar panel thing.
Oh yeah,
pretty cool. It's just a fold
out. What are you doing with
that? Charging my leisure batteries while I'm stationary for 2 days. You can plug in phones, and I've charged GoPros. All my GoPros have been charged by the sun today. I charged my DJI batteries by the sun today. It's very liberating.
Can you get enough to do quad batteries, or is that asking too much?
I think that's probably asking too much. It's only a 60-watt panel, but it will trickle charge my leisure batteries, which I've worked out to take 55 hours from flat to do 210 amps, but it doesn't need to be flat. So yeah, it's really good though. You literally lay it out in the sun, and then you can plug a USB port lead in it and start charging things.
So I don't want to burst your bubble, Tony, but over the last couple of days we've had strangely brilliant, like this 1 week that we call summer. So I want to know how it's doing on when it's a little bit more traditional British weather.
Yeah, was it this morning? It was a bit cloudy this morning, and it's still charged my GoPros. It's obviously a slower pace, but yes, I am charging up my batteries with my Solar Fairy. Yeah, it's Solar Fairy.
You just have
stuff.
to convert your van to electric now, and you can go fully off grid.
I could, couldn't I?
No more diesel.
I do like. Well, I've got a big inverter and 2 leisure batteries in there, so I can have toast in the morning and a fan on at night and things like that. So yeah, it runs my gutter vac for about 40 minutes non-stop, so it should power a fridge full of beers constantly. Yeah, well, we'll have to see. Big experiment. I may have wished I
Well, there's going to be a decreasing amount of mass it needs to chill over time there, so the power requirements are going to drop, aren't they?
Yes, but I'm gonna. While I'm driving it, it's charging as well. So I've got a split relay, so it's going to charge all the way down there, and then when I stop for 2 days, because I'm going Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I've got to help set things up. So I'm just going to hang my Solar Fairy off the side of the van and just trickle charge the batteries, and fingers crossed it'll all be good. But yeah, no, I don't think it's good enough not powerful enough to charge LiFo stuff. Not at all. I mean, my leisure batteries will. I can do it.
If only there was some decent subsidies on solar and they could push the prices down, this would all change, I think.
I know. I had someone come around and look at my roof of my house because it faces south, and they want £14,000 with a battery.
Like, how long is that going to take to make that back? Before I die or afterwards?
Yeah. So I decided no against that company, but I've seen it for about 6.5, which I might do. Not sure yet.
Depends on the power output of the panels and the longevity of them, whether they degrade and stuff like that, right?
Well, they're always degrade. I mean, I think you're looking at about 15 years, 20 years if at a push.
Oof.
But the thing I like about it is they come with a battery. They put the battery in the roof, and that will last a couple of days. So when I'm
That's
out
a good
at work,
idea. Now they won't
it
buy the power
charges.
back off you.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
used to be able to swing it before when you could sell the power back to the energy providers, but they're being gits
I
now,
think you
aren't
get
they? And won't let you do it.
5p a kilowatt, or something ridiculous. It's not even worth it.
Might as well put it into crypto mining.
Yes. Well, that costs a lot of money, though, doesn't it, to run the electricity for all
Well, it's
these?
certainly not good in the summer.
No.
Yeah.
Jack's in the chat. Hello, Jack. He just tried to ring me, but I don't know if he realised that we were online or not.
We're doing a show.
Hello,
can't
Jack.
answer you,
Good
Jack.
to hear from you. How are you doing?
I think he's getting
I
better.
recommend Dungeon SB.
I'm going to see him Monday.
Good.
So he better be on his best behaviour.
Yeah, he was sounding like he was getting better, finally.
Chap's
Might be
best
back with
behaviour.
us.
What
You
do
might
I
need to run up.
take a husband who's ill and sick in hospital? Not flowers.
You have
Chocolates.
to dress up sexy for him.
Show what? For a laugh, I might.
You'll have to
do
put
that.
back the little
Correct.
nurse's
Put the
outfit
heels
again.
on.
Put that one out.
Oh God! Imagine
Blonde wig, Tony. That's all you need. Blonde wig.
My brother's got a picture of him in a blonde wig with makeup, and he actually looked quite nice. Except he had a beard. But,
Give you something to grab hold of.
Imagine me mincing up in a miniskirt with Jack.
Weirdly enough, I really could.
I think
Your
it would
brother
make
almost
Jack
looks
feel a lot
exactly
better,
like
but
you,
we'll
so
swap
just send him that
prize
one.
now.
Yeah, could do that.
Oh. Well,
I want to see
that's
you
derailed
tonight.
us. I don't know what's going on now.
Sorry, Jack, I can't come tonight. I'm going to Wings and Wheels in the morning. Early in the morning.
He feels venerable.
He's pressed his button again, hasn't he? And injected himself with.
That's not bad spelling for Jack. At least we know what you meant.
Yeah. Being dyslexic, it's just fine to me.
I'll do it.
So I'll see you Monday, bruv. I'll be there Monday. So yeah,
Just give him
So
black
that's-
magic.
that's what I've been doing. Getting the X-Class ready and packing, basically. So
Nice.
if anyone in the chat is coming, I'll see you Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, people are going.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm thinking of popping along on Saturday myself. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'll turn up with a variety of aircraft and batteries and see how it goes.
I'll be dead by Monday, Jack says. Oh dear. I think he's pressing his button because his spelling's getting worse
More
and worse.
morphine. One hand typing.
He
Pressing the
definitely
button.
press it when I turn up.
That's one there.
So, okay,
dear,
that's
oh
the
dear.
weekend.
Yep.
I can't go. My current excuse is that I'm having to go to Leeds to look at university open days for my daughter,
Oh,
and for
Yeah.
the next several weeks, I am doing this tour of the country, looking at strange
Wait,
universities.
She figures out how far away she has to get, so it's not easy for you to come up and visit her and embarrass her.
I actually
Look for
passed
like
on
150-mile radius.
Caroline's sage advice, which was they need to go far enough away so they can't just pop back. It needs to be like half a day's travel. Therefore, it's truly independent. They can't just
Yeah.
pop on home and say, "Here's my washing." Also, how do I clean stuff? And ask questions like this. So
Or when they
yeah,
move
it's
out
all
and get a rental out off campus, like, hey Dad, can you fix the boiler? Hey Dad, the sink is backed up. Hey Dad, yeah,
No,
you
I
want to
don't know
avoid
how
all
to
of
do
that.
any of that. I can fix a quad, and maybe a TV and some computers.
And any problems she has around the house, you just turn up with a quad and like rip it around the house.
I turn it with a hammer and just start hitting it, and that's about. Is it fixed now? Hit it again, sort of thing. No, so and unfortunately, these are these are long things. Like we have to go up tomorrow to stay overnight because it's all the way to Leeds, and then next week we're doing, I think, Lancaster and Loughborough, and then a couple of months after that we're doing Edinburgh Napier, which is like a whole like weekend and the flights and stuff. And the other place was Falmouth, so it's all like at least 5-6 hours by road, which is long way.
How many stops will you be doing that in a Tesla?
We have not done any charging whilst out on the Tesla. Our journeys have been up to about 220 miles, but that's no problem doing it in one shot. This time we have to stop and charge. So it's like, how do you use a supercharger? I don't know.
This plug it in and see.
This is going to be a new experience, and we'll see what happens. We don't know. We've looked up. The idea is to go up to about Sheffield, find one of these supercharger places, plug it in, and see what happens, and hopefully not break down, because that would be pretty embarrassing. Like, hello, can someone plug me in? Because if I can't find a supercharger, it's like
put a generator in the boat just in case.
You'll just need like 12 hours or so to charge it. It'll be fine. That won't be
What's
much
that
fun.
crazy man doing with that big stack of lipos in the car park? What's going on there?
It won't be pretty. Hopefully it'll be fine.
No,
I'm going to pass out. Thanks, Richard Warwick, says Jack. He's really is hitting that morphine button hard.
Dreams of flaming wafflers, Jack.
Caroline's saying, supercharger, you plug them in, that's it. It's I don't like stuff that I haven't done before. I don't like new experiences.
Yeah, but don't you have to... Is it free? Are superchargers all free for Teslas?
No.
They're not?
We've added...
I've got a clip of Elon saying...
I think they
England,
used to be, and then they're like, oh, these are getting popular, we ought to charge people. And I think we got credit when we bought it for charging, but basically you have to... We've put like a credit card in against like the app, and I think the idea is now it just, when you plug it in, it's just like, oh, I know this car, I'll charge it to this card or something. I don't know. Figure it out.
That's
I'll report back next week.
I definitely saw Elon saying, oh yeah, it's going to be free for everyone in England.
No, I've no idea how much it is either. It could be really expensive. I haven't got much choice.
Well,
either that, else we have to drive from my daughter's car, which is a Ford Ka, and I don't want to sit in it for 6 hours.
No, sod that. I'd
With
rather
all the noise.
risk it in
Changing gear like a loser. Ugh, what's that all about?
What's that all about, eh?
Oh,
it's funny. I had I come out of Sainsbury's. I parked my car on the end, and there was a Tesla sitting a couple of parking spaces away, and the guy cut out and went, "Oh, I love your car, love your car." And I was like, oh, "Thanks." And then I said, "I've never been in a Tesla. Take me for a spin." And he was a technician and saying, "Look, this bit," and he was waggling a dashboard, and I was going, "Jesus." It wasn't very wasn't. I don't know. He said it was just a bit sloppy, the build quality, but Jesus, it was fast. He had the dual motor one.
They are super quick.
Oh my God! I was like slammed back in my
favourite thing to do is when I take people out to show my car is just get a bit of road and just put the foot down.
Yeah,
because they all
incredible.
go like this. It's brilliant.
Yeah, very good.
And then you see the range drop by about 10 miles when you've done that.
Yeah.
From hearing people talk about the experience, it sounds like Tesla as a concept is almost like a wide beta test of a car in many ways.
Yeah,
like it performs really well, but it's not quite 100%.
If you just use it to drive as a car, it's fine. If you do any of the... Like, I deliberately didn't get any of this self-driving nonsense because I don't trust that. Who would? And you can go on YouTube and you can watch all these self-driving cars crash into other cars endlessly. And it even says some stuff like, if you look at the manual, which is an online thing, even the cruise control is used as beta. It says you may experience phantom braking. Like, what? I don't want just to brake randomly in the middle of the road. Because it's like, oh, sorry, I thought I saw another car there, but I didn't. It's okay. Carry on.
I thought it had like odd door closing and things and stuff like this as well. It would just a bit of an odd design flaw here and there. Like they're experimenting, throwing stuff at the wall. Someone said
apparently the handles go all the time on the Teslas because they're wires and they pop out, and then the wires, obviously bring it back in. He says he's forever changing the wires on the bloody door handle.
Yeah,
I
they
heard
used to be.
heavy
They
rain when
used
you
to be
open the
very
door. it'll
bad.
Dump rain when
The
you...
quality on them. That seems to have got a lot better.
They've got over that now.
Yeah, so we looked
Maybe he's
around
just
for ours.
fixing old ones.
Because it was like you'd like close a door and you'd like that's a bigger gap than that side and that sort of thing. But
Really?
we've inspected our one a lot and it seems alright. That didn't stop my wife managing to scrape it on a piece of parking as she took it round a corner. But then we went into this Tesla repair centre and that was interesting to see. Because if you ever seen a Tesla that's been in a proper crash, it's interesting. It's like imagine hitting like a stack of TVs with a hammer, and it kind of looks like that. It's like that doesn't look like a car. It's just white wires.
I saw the
stuff
funniest
sticking
thing the other day. Do you know these girls who are into crystals, healing crystals and all that malarkey? She literally stuck them all over her steering wheel. And I was like, airbag?
out. That's going to be interesting in your face.
Like a fucking bomb go. Yeah, so healing
Airbag's
crystals will
pretty
be
dangerous.
embedded in her
God.
face. I found that quite funny. Anyway, back to flying.
Back to flying.
I mean, electric cars are tech, and they use probably tech from quads.
They are.
I mean,
They're a big stack of lipos you can use for other things. Perhaps, who knows?
Can you
There's going
charge
to be
quads
some bleed through for sure.
from a Tesla? Is there like an output? Obviously, there's 5 volts and USB.
There'll be a 12-volt socket, but what's it rated at, I guess?
What is there on there? There's loads of USBs and wireless charging. I don't know. I saw some of the others, like the Kia and the what was it? The Hyundai both got recent big electric 4x4s, and they had like an adapter that you plug into the charge socket, and basically it puts like a 240 volt plug on it, which you can then plug stuff in. I don't know if the Tesla has one. It seemed a bit pointless to spend all the time charging it up and then just taking the charge away again.
I mean, good
So
to
someone
have.
here says there's only one 12. Wait, there's a 12-volt power socket, but it's got over 10 amps.
Well, that's not bad.
That's
You could
quite a lot.
charge. You could charge some bats off that.
The Model 3 has only one 12-volt power socket, but it's a 16 amp socket.
I wonder where that socket is. I haven't looked around well enough to see where all the sockets are.
So that's like over 100 watts. You could definitely run a charger off that. But like
Normally, I find stuff out by accident or because my wife has noticed something. Like the other day, she told me like I didn't know how to work the air conditioning because apparently, in order to decide where the jets go, it's a touchscreen and you sort of drag it around. And I was like, oh, I didn't know how to work that. And I was like, oh, now I'm getting cold from the air because it was pointing in the air before. Now
So you've got a Model 3?
Yeah.
So it looks like it's in the center console, and there's a couple of cup holders, and then there's a compartment in front of that. Well, the rear wall of the compartment towards the cup holders has a 12-volt socket by the looks of it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look at that.
You can charge and fly your
There you
drone
go.
from it.
Charge stuff.
Nice.
There we know.
You've been very secretive about something, haven't you, Curry Curtin?
Have I?
Your army drone thing.
You mean my military tech? That
We shouldn't really be talking about this.
Shh. I've painted it grey so people don't know I've accidentally stolen. What's it called again? The Hornet.
The Black Hornet Nano.
The Black Hornet Nano. Look at all that infrared
Tech.
top class army tech. Flies for an hour.
You may be
Wicked.
experiencing some sort of scale phenomenon where it looks slightly larger than normal. That's just because Curry's actually got a slightly shrunken hand at the moment. It's
Yes.
just a... Yeah.
No, I'm covering up the rather obvious Ishin logo.
Ah.
This is the
What, you're telling
Ishin,
me that's not going to fly for an hour and do 720p HD video?
and it doesn't have thermal, and you can't get 4 miles of range on it, but you can get about 30 meters apparently. I don't know.
That's
brilliant.
good Rishi.
But I thought it was interesting because I never flew helicopters because they're difficult to learn on, and when you crash them, they cost hundreds of pounds to put right. This allegedly, kind of ignore the camera, because I think it's one of these really horrible Wi-Fi FPV things that you get in cheap and nasty drones.
So it's FPV.
Kind of like
Sort
you know, like nasty toy drone FPV. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the actual flying of it's supposed to just. It's got underneath there. It's got an optical flow sensor, and the idea is it's able to hold its height, and it's got a one-touch takeoff and landing. So this is like, if you can fly a quad, this is supposed to be as easy to fly. So I thought this is interesting, because I'm not a great line of sight flyer, but most of the time flying a quad line of sight, the problem you've got is it looks the same from almost any angle, and it's really easy to lose orientation. The thing with a helicopter is it's like, oh, big thick end is the front and little skinny end is the back, so should be all right. But I think I'll be trying to mainly fly it line of sight and see how it goes, and I think it'd be quite fun.
How well do you reckon eSheen optical flow is going to work?
Not very well at all, especially over like grass or anything that isn't beautifully optimal conditions. But I think it'd be fun to try and see what happens.
It's carpet optimal conditions for an optical flow.
I still don't want it, even though it's not that big. It still gives me like, that is, you know, about 10 inches side to side. I still don't want that spinning around close to me. So it's definitely an outside quad.
I'll definitely put that at about 15 to 20 inches. That.
Yeah, but I thought it'd be fun. I only got it because it was a piece of fun. I don't class it as anything other than a bit of a toy.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a toy that I fancied having a go at, because
I kind of wish they did it with 5.8 analog instead of Wi-Fi, because that
I think that'd be good.
I might more usable.
I might open it up and have a look, but I know it's got one of these all-in-one boards which has the receiver and all the electronics for the helicopter built in, so it's not just like I could swap it out for something proper. But the 5.8 I might be able to do, but then I'd be looking at something that can fly to about 30 metres of range, and it's like, well, is it worth it?
Not 80 grand.
It's a cute little airframe.
It is quite nice, I think.
Yeah,
I do like the fact it's modelled directly after that Black Hornet thing.
Totally.
If I take it apart, perhaps I should split it black or something and then try and sell it back to the army for like 100 grand or something.
They'll probably pay it.
Oh,
I mean, they keep crashing.
They don't seem fussy. They don't seem to do any research. If it flies in and crashes in the sea, they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. You guys were talking about that last week, and it seems they're making very uninformed buying decisions and maybe not training their staff much either. It's a bit scary.
No. That's happening everywhere, isn't it? Gatwick.
I don't know if that's just an army thing.
Handlers.
Yeah.
Well, whenever we see one of these, we talked about one of those, a great big commercial drone went in, and it was the case of, like, the quad wasn't responding to return to home. So rather than like piloting manually, and it was in like line of sight range, all you had to do was literally go like this with the stick, and it would have come back. It's just
you
like,
switched it off.
I'll just keep trying to do it again. I'll just keep doing it. No, it's not working still. Ooh, just keep trying it, and off it went into the town.
It's just there's no training for these people, is there? They should have mandatory like line of sight. I mean, I'm crap at line of sight, but I could like go. Or am I going further away from myself? Am I going towards myself? All right, yeah, let's keep going towards myself, and then let's lower the throttle. I mean, you don't have to go and do flips and rolls, do you? You just got to get the thing near your feet.
It's not that tricky, especially if you've got something that will self-level, which is often our like, something's gone wrong, put it into angle mode, take goggles off, and then you can, even if you'll just see it, you can at least see if you push the stick forward, which way is it going, and you can work it out from there and bring it back.
Well, never mind that. They're probably staring at a controller that actually tells them where it is and how far it is away from them. So even if
just
it can't
watch the
come
little
home,
screen,
you'd be like,
it's like
oh,
home's
I'm
that way.
50 meters away. I pull it this way. Now I'm 60 meters away. I push it that way. Now I'm 40 meters away. Oh yeah, I'll get around doing that.
We've all panicked before, though, haven't they? You know, when your screen goes blank and you go, shit.
But all the legislation that's directed at us is supposed to hold us accountable to the same level as commercial operators. And what we're complaining about is the fact that commercial operators are supposed to go through all this,
Mm.
and they're clearly just not paying attention and not doing what they are supposed to be doing. And we as hobbyists have had much more time on the sticks and can handle the situations just fine, but we're getting the thick end of all this legal rubbish. Meanwhile, the people who are doing commercial operations, a lot of them have clearly not been adequately trained, and if they have been trained, they haven't been examined to make sure that they're actually absorbing the knowledge
No.
and can operate the thing.
Just
Well, I
switch
think
it
the
off.
problem
It's only
there
100
is-
grand.
And as
Yeah.
you know, I'm taking this as like hearsay information, but the whole commercial pilot's license for a drone is 10% the flight test, which is essentially go around in a circle and land, and 90% can you write an operator's manual, which will tell you what to do in all these situations. Apart from if there's an emergency, and then what happens if the return home button doesn't work? They haven't accounted for that yet.
And another 50%, how much did your company sponsor the course and how much money has changed hands?
Do
how
you
many,
know what the weather's going to
Yeah.
be tomorrow? Is
how
it
thick is that
cloudy?
brown paper
What
envelope?
is that cloud? Is it a cumulus nimbus? Is it all that? Yeah. Not much.
I work with a lot of people in IT who do these tests, and often the least capable people are the people with the most credentials. They do the test, they jockey through this 2-day course or something, get the accreditation, but they've got no practical experience, and they've forgotten it because it was a test they did 8 months ago and haven't touched it since. So
I-
Yeah,
I've
I'm
met
sceptical.
worse than that on one of the IBM training courses, which is it's like here you do a week and you'll learn about whatever. There were business partners which basically are able to sell equipment, but in order to sell equipment, they have to have their staff trained up to this certain level of accreditation. So they have to pass a bunch of courses, and what they normally do, they just buy this unlimited training sort of token. So this guy was at one of these training courses, and he hadn't gone to the actual course. He was just going in the exam and trying to bluff his way through the multiple choice questions to try and pass something.
Yeah.
And it was on something called HACMP, which is high availability clustered multiprocessing, which is a thing we had on the AX operating system where it does like takeover if there's failures and stuff like that. It's not really something you can just guess, but I literally saw him leave, go take a test, come out, and then ask me questions about what is it if this happens, and he's trying to figure out what to do next. He just kept going in and out and in and out. So at the end of the day, he may have got that accreditation, but also know absolutely zilch about anything at all, other than perhaps a couple of multiple choice questions which may have stuck. Yeah, it's not pretty.
I mean, I've studied for a couple of things and got them. I did do Windows exams as well, like the Microsoft certifications, and those you didn't need to study. You just walked into the room and picked the obvious answers, and you got your 85% and passed it because they were just, joke qualifications. Yeah, not always a guarantee of success.
Shocking. No, and it's the same with multi-rotor stuff and commercial operations. But that kind of all changed, didn't it? In terms that has that changed now, Tony? You know this the answer to this one. You can do
8 months
essentially
ago,
what
I
you
done
like
my
now.
test. Can't remember.
But you didn't have to do like a proper test as it was previously. It was a sort of simplified thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all online. It was a couple of nights chatting. It was mostly about weather, to be honest. It was weather and
Fairly
how
dopey,
far
isn't
away
it?
you are from someone. And
It's
Was
kind
that
of like you go
A2
out.
CFC or something else?
yeah, it's the A2.
You can literally go out, look in the sky, and decide if you're going to have problems or
Yeah,
not, or it's
I
going to be
know.
okay, can't you? You don't need to what is this cloud?
Pretty much.
Is this a cirrus? It's a
It was
cumulonimbus.
it was a bit it was got a lot of weather, a bit of battery talk and tech, and just how far away you're going to be from people, and that's it really.
Yeah, I'd say
Lovely
that
stuff.
how far you are from hazards is like 90% of the important stuff that people actually need to apply.
But
It's
so
the only
I-
part that really hurts anyone else.
So I can fly to 30 meters away from someone now with this. But in my head, like 30 meters could be different to what it actually is. Because what you're going to go out there and take a ruler to it or count the paces, the
As we
steps
know,
and-
guys might overestimate. You might find that 30 meters is actually about 6'7".
Yeah.
You just need to be careful when you're guessing that.
Exactly. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think the key is if you hit them, you were less than 30 meters
Yeah,
away.
if you were quite close. But you know, indoors you can fly as close as you want, do whatever you want.
Oh,
Exactly.
speaking of A2 CFC, did you see the response from the CAA on the questions they asked people a while back, where they were asking what to do for the transitional period?
No, I don't even remember these questions.
I'll fill in the void that our beloved Andrew/Frank has left, and report on this
I
briefly.
know.
There was a questionnaire
Come
put out
back,
there because
Andrew.
there's supposed to be a transitional period because everything's in the brave new world. All our drones will be marked with classification describing how fast they can move, what they
Yeah.
weigh, how difficult they are to pilot, etc., etc. Right? Except, when did anyone buy one of these? The answer is never, because those classifications, while they exist in theory, are not being applied to any shipping products. No manufacturer has made one. So we're in the transitional period where they've made up the law, but there's nothing to apply the law to. And all of our drones, all our quads, are never going to have any classification applied to them because they're all self-built. And
Yeah.
so they asked what to do about this, and the answer is that everyone wanted the transitional period to basically continue in perpetuity. And they've said, well, in the absence of any products that we can actually apply the law to, because no manufacturer has created a drone with this classification, what we are just going to extend the transitional period. So far, so good. You can carry on using your A2 CFC and flying your A2 open category drones and all this stuff, which pretty much means most people, I think, are looking at the under 900 gram category, covers pretty much all freestyle quads, and you don't go within, I think, I may be wrong, so don't quote me, but I think that's the 30-meter one, right?
Yeah.
And there's a sub 250 where you get 15-meter, except
Which it has to have a slow mode on.
yeah, and that
Which
how do you even do that
which will
unless you've got
be
GPS?
well, it'll be DJI drone, won't it?
So I
Yeah.
think the reason I don't know about this is when we started getting this question of those ESA rulings, which then became these classes, and it started talking about you may not go faster than X meters per second. I completely switched off and say, I'm not doing any of this. I became a petulant teenager, so I'm not doing it. Ugh, try and make me. I'm just going to carry on what I'm doing, and use the golden rules about don't be on fire, don't be a dick, watch out for people, that sort of thing, which I think is working quite well for me. Apart from I'm still bumping into people that are asking me how I possibly got this permission.
Yes, couple of Karens.
Yeah. But ignore
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I'm still flying near a skate park, and the Karens are still very distracted by things going on in the skate park and not really too interested in what I'm doing, which is good. It's between the skate park and the basketball courts, which are both, refuges for people who want to play loud music and smoke weed. And so the guy standing there flying a quad in circles around his head isn't getting any attention, so it's all good.
That's good.
All safe.
I might go to a local basketball court.
I'm unclear
It's
if Tony
certainly
wants to fly
an
his quad
approach.
round there or just score some weed.
The latter. What's Frank just put? Has anyone come up close to an electronic concert?
That is such a difficult word.
Conspicuity.
Say that word.
Conspicuity.
Electronic conspicuity.
System.
It's the
for
opposite of
something.
inconspicuous.
A beacon, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do that on the new DJI stuff as well. It's all going to be,
Yeah,
this is where I am, this is where you are.
I don't think anyone trusts DJI to do this in a decent way. This whole
Well, the Americans
encrypted
definitely
thing.
don't.
We've let the police know where you are.
Yeah, right.
If you're flying inside Gatwick.
There was that thing where DJI marketing were told that the system was secure and encrypted and people couldn't read the data, and it turned out there was no security provisions taken. It was all just blank advertising of the idea over the air, and the marketing people had been given a packet of lies to feed to the media, and the actual engineers at DJI were perfectly aware that there was no protection of users' data. It was effectively saying exactly what your account was when it was flying around and advertising it to everyone. Fun times.
Nice.
Fun.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I especially loved that one they brought out with the idea of being like a rescue services drone. But I'm guessing that's not going to get any traction in the US because it's like this is government and we're not buying DJI drones. That's the one that had that amazing telephoto lens and had
I've seen
inbuilt
that.
infrared and everything for night
Very
vision
good
and stuff.
drone.
Really amazing.
I think we've got the Rocket Man though, haven't we? The English guy literally has put a rocket
Gravity
on his
Industries.
arm, and yeah. Have you seen them flying up with medipacks on their back around Wales and stuff? They literally fly up a
Snowdonia, they're
mountain.
doing it,
Yeah,
isn't it?
excellent. That is.
I've
Yeah,
seen that does feel a little bit like it's all a big PR stunt as well because they're not too dissimilar in accord in the terms of like after 4 minutes you'd better land somewhere quick because you're out of juice. As impressive as they are.
Andrew just said that the electronic conspicuity beacons are a requirement for the C classes, and he thinks that's the thing blocking anyone releasing anything to market. And there's a certain amount of resistance there, I gather, because in order for any sort of electronic conspicuity to be useful, it's got to have a decent amount of range, which means it's got to have a fairly high transmit power, which means you've got to pollute airwaves with a lot of extra interference. And if people put up armies of quads, it's going to just denial of service stuff in whatever frequency band that is. So that could be a problem. That could be a big problem.
Yes, it will be.
I think DJI is a problem now. Imagine if it's just broadcasting signal, shouting, here I am, here I am, here I am, as loudly as it can, as well as the video.
I mean, I remember getting upset about the idea that quad should have something for conspicuity. I'm getting the hang of that word now. And yet, that is not a requirement of light aircraft, even though they're manned. And the excuse was like, oh, well, people can look around in a plane and find out what's there.
Okay.
There's a question in the chat from Brian FPV.
There is, from Brian
Does anyone
FPV,
know
who
the answer?
says, I clicked it as well.
We both, yeah.
Oh, God's
And
sake.
again.
There we go. What do you guys think about FreeSky and their access protocol supposed to be encrypted?
That's not.
No.
Was it encrypted? Because it got cracked pretty quickly in terms of you can do access on the multi-protocol modules now, can't you?
Exactly. So if it was encrypted, they did a lousy job of it. And much like there are cars and there are cars, and there are nice meals out and there are nice meals out, there is encryption and then there is encryption. You can do it badly just because it's called encryption. You can use like a replacement cipher where you replace like A with B and C with D and you call it encryption and you're just lazy. Or you could do it properly and use something like TLS for, like websites used for HTTPS and do it really well. And there's a spectrum there, so it's not all on the same footing. And I guess FR Sky might have just taken a shortcut or two because it's certainly been included in the multi-protocol module now.
Yes. I mean, it's so hard to tell because we don't talk about FreeSky anymore because it's like, FreeSky, yeah, they used to do something good and now they seem somewhat irrelevant to the industry and anything going on in RC anymore. Saying that, I still think, that back in the day, XM Pluses were the absolute go-to, and I've still got a whole bunch of quads on that wall.
Same here.
And they work very nicely, but
they went quite far.
I think they just got greedy, didn't they? They said, we're going to put TBS out of business, and hey, we don't want these copies. We're going to force everybody to upgrade and try and bring out this new protocol and make everything bad. Terrible.
People do tend to rest on their laurels, unfortunately.
Get greedy. It's humans, they get greedy, don't they?
They do.
I did notice that the new EthOS radios that FR Sky have, they're kind of fancy things, touchscreen. They look like they might be Android. They're not. They're this EthOS thing. And there was some chat on EdgeTX. It turns out the main reason that they only run EthOS and they don't run EdgeTX is because they changed the CPU to an H7. But there's some rumblings there, so we might see EdgeTX on the new FR Sky radios. So they might end up being useful radios in the long term. could happen.
R9 was a real winner. God, that was absolute pants, wasn't it?
I remember playing with that and having. It's just.
Shite.
I was actually in contact with them back in the day when R9 was happening and making videos about it, and it's like my RSI signal dropped to 4, like 4. Like that seems bad, and it's like, oh yeah, we're going to change that and it's going to be better. I was like, can you provide like issues you're working on and what you're fixing and what the next release is going to bring? And they're like, no, we'll show people when it's out, and it's just been awful. And yeah, somebody asked me, Caroline's just saying R9 is a winner as you can flash them to ELRS. Someone previously asked me in a video, because I did a video about how to flash a module over, is there any advantage in running Express RS over R9? I don't get why I would do it. And it's like, one's being actively developed really well and the other's been left to rot for the last 2 years. So it's like, well, pick your side, really.
Yeah.
PS,
Yeah.
ELRS is the one that's getting developed a lot. That is
Yeah,
the
sometimes
main
you need
problem.
these technologies just so they can act as kind of a counterpoint, right? So you had TBS with Crossfire and R9 using basically the same chipset as Crossfire. And you just need one so that the other one can be a bit scared and actually improve. And so you ended up with that hardware being taken on by ELRS. But some things are crap, but they act as a catalyst to stop the rest of the market from standing still.
Mm. I've done the
true.
same as Numbskull. I've just stuck with Crossfire on all my stuff, except for my X-Class is not running Crossfire.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. But if something's doing something that you want, get that instead. It'd be better.
Yeah.
But
Right.
anyway, we
Well
have
done.
come to our
We've finished.
fun hour. And I'm looking forward for next week just to hear what you guys got up to. Sorry I can't go with. But have fun without me
Well, will do.
and stuff. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us, everyone in the chat. And thanks to all our patrons. You saw their names ticking along. And if you've ever got spare cash and you want to help support this show and what we do, please feel free to join up. And you get all lots of benefits like... I don't know.
What do you get? Stickers from Jack?
If they
It's
pay
maybe
us
stickers
enough,
from
we will
Jack.
dedicate a show exclusively to them. We will do
yeah,
a
that is-
huge
that is
show
one of
that's
them.
on
the
the
top
subject
criteria,
of your
isn't it?
choice.
Yeah.
You've got the patron only thing that we probably haven't done this month because there's not enough of us, and lots of stuff that you post on. I can't actually log into the site, so I don't know. That's my excuse. Someone get me the login. But in the meantime, you have been joined this week by Stephen, whose video
Disappeared.
camera's shut off.
My
He must be
camera
getting
is
naked.
dead. I'm still here.
Tony,
Bonjour.
and I've been Kerry Kitten. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.